This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about The Battle of Algiers from 1966, directed by Gillo Pontecorvo. The tagline for this film, RJ. The revolt that stirred the world.
Did it?
I knew you were going to say that. I'm like, what a straight line to give RJ.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Jarrett.
Here is an audacious claim. RJ responds, "Did it?
Did it?"
It writes itself. We are just characters on a podcast.
And that's what I've said the whole time. There's not a lot of effort that goes into this. It's all automated responses.
Tracing the struggle of the Algerian Front de Libération Nationale to gain freedom from French colonial rule, as seen through the eyes of Ali, from his start as a petty thief to his rise to prominence in the organization and capture by the French in 1957. The film traces the rebels' struggle and the increasingly extreme measures taken by the French government to quell the revolt.
Did it work?
RJ, have you... I'd seen this movie before. And I was like, I think in high school still. And I will say that I couldn't tell you where Algiers was on a calendar. Or a calendar, on a map. Like, I have no idea.
Well, I was going to say, that would be pretty impressive if you could pick it
There
out
it is
of
on the calendar. It's right there around the 14th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Algiers,
late.
Is it not near that Casablanca place or some shit?
Morocco?
Yeah, is it not near Morocco or?
I mean, it's in that neck of the woods. On that.
Now that you mention it, where the fuck is Algiers?
It's a country, Algeria. That place, you know.
Yeah. Well, we got Sid Mohammed. That's the, I'm guessing, capital of Algeria. We got Mustafa, right near the Embassy of the People's Republic of China. That's pretty cool. There's a place called Hotel Ikram El Daif.
I think it's right by the Bay of Algiers.
That doesn't really narrow it down for me.
Damn. Shit. I'm sorry. Well, RJ, it's on the Mediterranean. It's right along the tippy top of Africa. You know.
Yeah.
You just
it's
hop
close
out.
To Tunisia.
Yeah. Right in Star Wars.
Is that where they filmed Star Wars?
Yeah, it's right between Star Wars and Casablanca.
Oh, yeah, it's close to Morocco.
Yeah.
I was pretty right.
I mean, well, how close is close? Like a bike ride?
I mean, in terms of like countries, they share a border.
This is true.
So
I'll give you that. That.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we know, for everyone else, where Algeria is, what do you know about the political situation in the Algerian War from 1954 to 1962 before watching the Battle of Algiers?
I mean, I heard it wasn't a lot of fun.
Yeah, you had heard, huh?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's not in the text. You know what? It's not in our textbooks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you because I don't do that. I've heard the title, The Battle of Algiers, before. I knew it was based on some kind of true thing. That's about as far as my knowledge went of the entire situation.
Very fair. Very fair.
So, you know, that's about it.
So, part of my I'd seen this movie before, but again, 20 years ago, and my friend Corey, big war boy. Loves gritty depictions of guerrilla fighting. This movie is also, like, if you look at those supplements, a lot of red smeared all over this title, if you know what I mean.
I don't. Could you elaborate?
Communism.
What kind? Socialist or?
all that bad stuff, RJ.
Okay.
Ooh,
the Red Menace?
The Red Menace.
Wow.
I mean, think about when this movie came out in '66. You had those student riots just around the corner. All this revolution talk going on. You got China. You got Indochina. You got
Indochina.
You got Vietnam. You have I know.
What do you think Bernie Sanders was doing?
Uh,
at this time.
when this movie came out,
Yeah.
protesting.
Yeah.
So so the movie comes out in 1966, and it's depicting historical events from just 10 years prior.
Ooh.
No.
Do you think that's good?
Do you think the French like this movie? The French government. Do you think they were fans? Do you think they might have been like, yeah, no, I don't think people need to see this?
They don't stand for it, I can tell you that much right now.
No.
They don't simp for it for that matter either.
So yeah, this movie was, as you could expect, banned in France.
Yeah.
For a window of time.
Because they liked it too much?
No, they're big colonial boys, and this movie is not about colonialism, which is an interesting thing. That like as soon as this movie starts out, you get like kind of the language of like the struggle, and you kind of go, huh? I thought all these thoughts just started recently. Why do people talk about decolonizing? It's like they think this is new. It's like, yeah, this is like recent stuff. It's like, oh no, my friends, these are ideas that have been with us for a long time. But the struggle is real, and we're going to actively keep those things out of circulation and talk about them happening in other places. But Algiers is just like let alone the Battle of Algiers. That's like a footnote. That's neither here nor there stuff. You don't even want to talk. We don't even want to talk about this, particularly as it pertains to like just like Muslim people. Who cares, right? That is nothing too crazy, RJ. They're in our Western education. Outside of the Bible.
I know that in the Catholic high schools you do a whole day on it.
Well, there you go. I sit corrected.
But that's just the good Catholic
I forgot
schools.
about that whole day that you get.
Yeah, you get a whole day on it.
I remember like writing position papers on the Middle East.
Just in general,
but it's like that's that whole area that's all entwined, right? It's all one giant mass. There's no differences between various countries and places. These are people who want or need things just like anyone else. It's just like over there.
Nothing of note, at least, right?
No.
It's just all. I mean, we're all the same, Jarrett. We're just all people.
So this movie opens up.
Yeah, it sure does.
Right after someone's been clearly tortured by a room full of soldiers.
Yep.
And they're all being very polite. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. You did the best you could. I understand. You held out longer than you should have, but hey, we got here. You did the right thing. It's going to be good. Here, put on this uniform. We're going to do a different form of humiliation. We're not just going to torture you here in this like bathroom, or like in this like room in the doctor's office or wherever the hell it is.
Yeah.
But we're going to thank you for giving up your info, and now we're going to bring you along so they can see that you helped us out. Put on this uniform here, just to send that final message that hey, the game's up. So
you're one of the boys.
They charge in. This music kicks in. RJ, did you recognize this music immediately?
Yeah. It reminded me of what was that fucking movie we just watched during Gourmet? Dun dun dun, dun dun dun. Or is that like? Is it either 70s cop TV or is it a movie from that era?
RJ,
I know the music.
So the score itself is composed by one Ennio Morricone. You know about this guy?
I've heard about him. I'm seeing him.
Just died. One of the most famous music composers.
Sure, I know
around.
That guy.
Well, this particular piece of music you've definitely heard before because it is used in *Inglourious Bastards*, the Tarantino movie.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, that's kind of like when I kicked in again because it had been forever since I'd seen Battle of Algiers. I was like, aha! Like I knew, I was like, oh yeah, this is totally *Inglourious Bastards* style music, and I didn't. I did not realize that Ennio Morricone did the score for this movie.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And I thought it was 70s cop TV. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom.
That hard charging.
So I was almost right?
Almost. You almost got there.
Boom, boom.
So the soldiers are deployed en masse. into the I guess I don't know what you would call it, like it's like the to me it always looks like the ramshackles of the Casbah. These houses built on top of one another, winding roads, just stairways going up and down all over the place. I will say that I don't know how well laid out the space is of Algiers compared to Pepe La Moko. It's one of those things where, like, because you know Pepe La Moko, like, there's like a whole build up. You see like these overhead shots of like the space of like the hills, and it's like, oh wow, like it's like it's a character in the movie, as an asshole might say. Where in this, it just seems like it's a city. It's very uncinematic, which I don't think is a necessarily bad decision, but at the same time, I didn't get a sense of the space as much. It could have been just anywhere, which potentially is the point. This could be happening anywhere. It could be happening at your home, as I gesture toward RJ with my finger.
I was gonna say, who are you pointing to, me or the listeners at home?
Well, they're just hearing my voice inside their ear.
Where else do they hear you?
Wherever they want, on OnlyFans. So the soldiers are deployed. They rouse through, guns armed. They just make their way through, kick in that door. There's no warrants here. This is martial law, baby. Military rules. And they start making arrests, grabbing people. But where's this? Who are they looking for? Well, they come up to this tiled up wall and they give a couple knock, 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 knock. There's that hollow sound. And then we cut to the inside behind that wall where it's suggested of 4 or 5 people, women, a woman, a child, old person, 2 young men. And they're told, come out. We know you're back there. You know how it's going to go. And then we get a flashback to what, 1954?
Yeah, you do a double back a couple years before, right?
Yeah, well, it jumps back, I guess, like, you know, in this movie, like, you know, 6 years prior.
Yeah.
And we're going to follow Ollie, who is a thief. And it's like, and we also get like kind of like a bit of an info dump of like what the situation is that they're living in, the people are living in under the government. And how does it go? He steals something. Someone chases after. The police are after him. He's running, and then this white guy trips him, laughs at his face because he doesn't even realize what's going on. He's just tripping him because he's a dick. And the guy gets up. He could keep running, but no. He fucking sucker punches this guy. I don't even know if it's a sucker punch. He just gut punches him, and then the group, the mob, just swarms him to quell him from fighting back. And then the cops arrest him, and back to jail he goes because Ollie's like a 2, 3, 4 time loser.
I think it's a pretty fair punch. Like he stands up, he acknowledges that the guy tripped him, the guy laughs at him, and he just pops him in the face.
What are you doing, buddy? I just tripped you a little bit.
He's like, what's the big idea, or what's the big problem, friend? And it's like, sorry, it's pretty deserved.
So we get to see Ollie in jail, and you know, often a good point to be radicalized in the world is sometimes jail. Prisons, jails, not maybe the best solution to society's problems. We get to see a guillotine execution, which I found really disturbing for whatever reason.
The guillotine execution?
Yeah. Like where the man is being escorted through, Allah Akbaring his way through the cells. Everyone's just kind of watching. Ollie gets a view from his window of the courtyard where this man's being brought out, and you see a guillotine off in the corner. This man's hands and feet are tied, and he's just like loaded up like a log, and his head's just kind of fed into the slot. And it's just like, oh my god, I never really thought about this that much. Like, how would you control a person, like, to make sure that they can't get out of it? And you're just like, yeah, you're just like a big piece of salami going into the deli cutter and slicer, and you're just chunk. And it's like, next. It's very efficient, I guess. I think that's it's very successful use in the French Revolution.
Aren't we all just a hunk of salami in the
Well,
processor of life?
I know we all probably smell like salami at various points of our life. Like, I don't know, it's like something about that sweat and sodium and meat smell. I don't know. I mean, you are the cannibal amongst us, but
Well,
yeah,
I mean, allegedly.
ask Ham Meat, your good friend.
You can't. He's gone.
Wow, parts of him. So yeah, that just like made me go, oh, god damn, what a way to go. So anyway, Ollie gets out, but he's gotten ideas. Society isn't fair, and it's these goddamn Frenchmen walking around, not letting us do what we want to do. Now we want a society for ourselves.
Does it work?
For Algerians. Well, the steps to becoming part of this force is you have to kind of go through an initiation, and part of this initiation that he gets kind of roped into is that there is a informant who runs a cafe, and he talks to a police officer, and of course you'd be like, well, kill the informant, and it's like, no, kill the cop, because part of this whole thing is that, like, well, maybe this guy went to jail, now he's coming back undercover and wants to join the cause, but he's like actually, a double agent. He's working for the Popo, and they have to make sure that it's like, well, if we tell him he has to kill a cop, he's never going to do it, but he's going to do it. It's like, okay, well, just in case, let's give him a blank gun.
I mean, I think
it makes sense.
It's
when
played off.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, we just wanted to see what you were about.
And then he went to do it, and it's like, oh no, we didn't. I mean, it's fine if you don't kill him. That's fine. But now that we know we can trust you, because we didn't want to give you a live gun. So, but we found out that you're real stuff, and now we can really begin our actions.
This is where the healing starts.
This is where the healing begins, where we get RJ, it's a glorious montage of people just running around killing cops. And killing soldiers, like shooting them in the back. And I think I wrote, is this Antifa?
I think that's an idea. It's not like an actual group or organization, Jared, is what I heard.
Right. Yes.
From President candidate pundit. What it?
People.
Candidate?
Folks.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the Battle of Algiers.
Oh yeah.
So we get like this like absolute assault by the FLN, the National Liberation Front. So it's always some sort of abbreviation, as you recall from Life of Brian. But this one seems to be like, this is the group that we're going to phone in on. Maybe there was others. French army, though, the French government doesn't want to have anything to do with this, though, so they're acting very lightly at the beginning, because they're kind of like, that's their problem. The police will figure things out. This war of independence, we're not taking it too seriously. What do they even have? Well, they've got guns, and they can just they know the land. People are willing to not talk about these things because nobody likes the occupiers, these French bastards. And so yeah, they start they're killing too many people. It's looking bad. So they got to bring in those paratroopers, the French army paratroopers, to help combat this terrorist force. And essentially this movie is that story of I don't know, it's like just set pieces of the various levels of the battles. You get to see the government's reactions, and it's not like the government are not depicted as heroes. I mean, at times the FLN they're not being depicted as like heroic either. Kind of more desperate and kind of doing things you're like, god damn, that's cold. They just killed that dude. Like it's kind of like it's depicted as a dirty, violent affair, but there's no like real explicit heroics. There's no good guys. Totally. I mean, I definitely say that this is sympathetic to the FLN cause, because often we will root for the underdog, particularly when the French government starts to deploy torture, intimidation, murder.
All I was gonna say was I watched 2 of the supplements just because I had the time, but one of them was like a 20-minute roundtable with like directors about this stuff, and there was a lady director. I can't remember her name. I think she was from.
Director.
She was a lady director. I think she was from the area. She had some really good insight on this stuff. I didn't recognize her name. I can't remember what it was. And then you had Oliver Stone. I think he kind of rambled on like an old man. You had Steven Soderbergh, who like just said a bunch of bullshit about. He's like, I stole all this stuff for traffic, and it's like, all right, Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mira Nair.
Yeah. She offered actually a lot of insight because it sounds like she's from a similar place, if not Algiers itself.
Oh, Gillian Schnabel's on here too.
Yeah. So they had really good inputs, but the reason I brought it up was Spike Lee was on there, and he was like, I think he was the best, and he was the least featured out of any of them. Like they didn't show him very often, like as much as anyone else. But so what you were saying about how it kind of paints him, it's like it's non-biased in how they present it, and like Spike Lee's kind of like, he's like, it's very matter of fact in how they show both sides of it. He's like, but I think it's inherently in favor of the Algerian people. He's like, I think if you didn't, and yeah, he's like, I think if you don't see that, he's like, I think you might be missing the point of history.
Mira is from India.
Oh, so that's nowhere near Algiers.
Not really, no.
She tells stories though, like she really
traveled. I don't know.
Well, she tells stories that have real personal connection to it. So maybe it's just similar things like where she was from or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, that's all I got out of that whole thing was just Spike Lee kind of talking about that, and then he dropped some colonialism bombs on that one too. And that I can't remember when that was from. It was like 2004 maybe or 2000.
Yeah, that's when the DVD came out.
Yeah, so I thought Spike Lee was really interesting, but they don't really show him very often, or as much as like Oliver Stone. And it's like, I don't fucking care what Oliver Stone thinks about this movie.
Ollie?
Not really, like, you know.
I mean, I could definitely. I mean, that's one of the things too. So watching Battle of Algiers now, so much of like there's like a big emphasis about how this movie was shot like newsreels. Like it feels like very like grounded in the moment because of the way it was shot. Like where. Particularly during like that big kind of like climax when the army is just like shooting people, and like it's like they were just shooting it all in, like with large audiences like on location and like with like in the places that it was happening.
Yeah,
I mean now that doesn't even sound that exciting because it's like, well, isn't that exactly what you would do? And I feel like we've watched movies like was it Tin Drum?
Yeah, Tin Drum's similar.
Tin Drum has like a lot of that kind of like, oh, here's like the same people that it happened to. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. It's one of the movies we've watched recently, and where it's like, okay, but I mean, again, that movie comes like 1979. So for 1966, depicting this now or like in the way that it did, it is so influential that I feel like it's kind of hard to pick out why that feels different, because now it just feels like, oh, it feels a lot more contemporary than like other movies, and I feel like the big influence I feel for the one director who I like quite a bit is Costa Gavras, who we will be watching at least Missing of his movies. The one movie is called Missing, and a few others one day that I think they're better movies on the whole. I would say, but like I think that the influence of this is on that all over the place. And there's like the one movie by Gillo Pontecorvo is his movie Burn with an exclamation mark, directed with starring Marlon Brando. That's a movie that I think just came out from Kino finally, and I think it's supposed to be like finally a good version that's intact of Burn, but I might be wrong on that, and maybe it's still like never. It still is not available properly, and that's another movie that is like very. It wears its redness and of revolt on its sleeve.
Like Marxist poetry? Is that what you're talking about over there?
Yes, like Marxist poetry, just like a special feature title on this very DVD. What?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I was gonna add something, and then I forgot.
What do you feel about guerrilla warfare?
I'm for it. I think it's I mean, I like gorillas. I think they're pretty neat. I don't really think that we should use them for fighting, but
Right.
you know, like I mean, I think that they're
And glue.
cool. I would just like or gorilla glue. That gorilla glue is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like some of the tactics in this because as Spike Lee said, he's like it's not really great that they do this, but it's necessary.
You know,
And you go, he makes a good point.
that is reality. Where sometimes it's like, yeah, there is no other choice, and it's brutal and violent, and powers that be will do what it needs to correct for that.
Yep. And there's I think they show that well in this, but
No. Yeah, I mean, so some of like the weird little footnotes when you read about you know, this idea of like guerrilla warfare. I mean, this is something that's been around for like forever. It's not a new thing. But I guess as time's gone on, it becomes more and more popularized. So like supposedly, here's a great little bit from Wikipedia. The Battle of Algiers gained a reputation for inspiring political violence. In particular, the tactics of urban guerrilla warfare and terrorism in the movie supposedly were copied by the Black Panthers, the Provisional Irish Republican Army, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front.
the Jammu? I didn't think those guys were involved in that.
Hey, they were, RJ.
Oh wow, shit.
Jammin'.
That's pretty. I didn't know.
These are things. I mean, I guess like you watch a movie and you go, "Hey, here's some tips." That's a good idea.
Is that what you pull from that? Is hey, good tips.
Good tips. Yeah, maybe that's what the movie is. It's like it's part of the plan. You know, you have your anarchist cookbook. You got your copy of Battle of Algiers.
And then you have your copy of Just the Tips from Chip Zdarsky.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Did you had? I don't know if you still got a bit to rattle off on, but did you ever say what your opinion of this film is? Whether you like it or not, or are you reserving that until later?
I will continue to reserve my opinion of this movie. Sure. Yeah, because like I don't know, how do you even talk about this movie? Because it seems like it's more of like it's a political movie, and so like it's kind of weird to talk about. It's like how is it as a piece of entertainment?
Do you want me to chime in a little bit?
Sure, go right.
Because I actually have an actual opinion of entertainment versus history. So, the first time watch for me, Jarrett, as I mentioned before, I knew about this thing. I heard about it. I'm seeing this, but I didn't actually know a whole lot of Algerian history.
Yep.
Shocker. So I was like, this is all news to me. Watching it, I actually, it's really kind of funny timing that I saw this because recently I've been dealing with some social studies, and I won't say where or when, but it was all related to French Revolution type stuff and how the French kind of rose up for their independence from like colonialism type things, and this was before Algiers. So the irony of it's like that self-aware wolf thing where it's like a country frees themselves from like similar things trying to make themselves stand out, and then they do it to someone else. And that's why I was talking earlier about that Star Trek DS9, and it's just like the Bajorans who free themselves from the Cardassians, and then they don't take in refugees from another planet. And I was like, see, DS9, it's just, you know,
it's the roadmap we need.
It is.
We just gotta watch out for the Jemadar.
Fuck, those are bad dudes. Like they're bad dudes, Jarrett. But I found a lot of real topical, personal, current event connections to me, based on just recently reading about French Revolution stuff, just completely coincidental. And then, you know, DS9, I was like, a lot of overlap.
I mean, like, there's not a lot of variation in the story of like
it's the
power,
same thing
right?
over and over again.
A power and how it operates in a system. Like it happens over and over and over again, and either it's the way it is, or it's something that we just let ourselves fall into over and over again because we're told, well, there's no other choice. I don't know.
Well, maybe in 2024, maybe Bernie will run again, and then he'll turn everything around.
Oh man, imagine how much like sausage he'll smell like by then.
Fuck, that dude's. He'd be a little ripe. But I'd still stand by him. Anyways, what the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, so there's overlap in that stuff. So I think it was a first time watch for me. I think up front, I think it's a good it's a very well represented piece of history, and that's what they were going for. Where it's like they tried to make it as realistic as possible to what was actually happening, and in that right. It is a dramatic retelling documentary type thing. And that's just history, man. That's pretty cool. As a movie itself, I do think that there are certain elements that are really well done. And then I think there's a few things that are like, I wasn't really on board for, but after watching Marxist poetry and the director talked about it, I was like, oh, okay, so that was intentional. So what I mean by that is one thing I really liked was some of the music where they use like the chants and the cheers and they turn it into like music kind of.
Yeah.
And I can't make the sound because that'd be appropriation.
The wailing, I guess.
Yeah, like... the wailing, and they were like, we're using that and we're putting it into like the actual score. I thought that was awesome, and it really pumps you up.
Fuck, what is the movie? So there's like, God, what is the other movie we watched recently that has like the wailing Italian women?
Dark Knight Rises? That's got wailing in it. Wailing Italian women?
Yeah.
Ivy Tuoli? No, it's not that.
Anyways, continue. There's something
okay.
that's because it's like one of the better scenes. Or no, it's Salvatore.
Oh,
Giuliani.
Salvatore Giuliani.
Yeah, which this movie has a lot of similarities to as well.
Similarities.
And it's also Italian. Similar era as well. Like, what's that, 61, 62? And here we are 4 years later, another Italian filmmaker who is, I guess, dealing, though, with French history.
Yes. And it sounded like there was more a connection to it than just like it sounded like he was involved in somehow, like not at the time, but like he knew it really well. So like I don't know, maybe he lived there or something. But so I really liked the wailing. And then there's like one of the drum tracks when the girls are like getting ready to go be bombers. I thought that thing pumped me up, where it's just like silent. They're like changing their appearance so they can go be suicide bombers, and there's just that like steady drum in the background. I was like, yeah. I was like, I could go work out to this just in the background. I don't work out, but if I did, I would listen to that music. So I really like that. And then the thing I mentioned earlier, some of the things I didn't really like is there are other times where I think the score kind of drops itself in really abruptly, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. And I was like, that's kind of like messy almost.
Well,
but then apparently that's what he wanted.
Yes, yeah. I was saying like in one of the documentary pieces, it says, "Oh yeah, that's intentional," and you go, "Yeah, I see." So that makes it okay, or maybe it doesn't work, and it's kind of like we would do things differently now.
Yeah, it didn't work for me. And so that's what I mean. It's like it wasn't intentional, I guess, but I still don't really know why. Because he said he wanted it to be like messier because it would be more representative of what was going on. I was like, that's fine, I guess, but I don't know. It's not what I'm here for. So you have that. So in terms of like, I think as a movie itself, some of the score stuff I really like. Some of it I don't like that much, and it's the same with the editing. It's really similar. Like he wanted it a little bit messier. In terms of storytelling itself, it does the thing that is like hyper popularized now, where you start at the end and then you jump back to the beginning. And
it's almost like the records, and then it goes back to like, remember where we were. That cold opening in media res. How did I wind up here as I look longingly into the camera? But it's like, it's kind of funny because like it's just it's a trope in this movie that's like stripped down reality.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And like I don't even hold it against this movie. It's just more of like it's so noticeable now because I think it was last year every single movie that came out was doing it, and it was just like, oh my god. It's like find something new or like present it in a new way, like Maverick, the Mel Gibson movie. It does that too, but it's got a little spin on it, Jarrett. Mm-hmm. It's got a little spin.
So I do have this movie on my "Don't Be Colonizing" list that only has one like on it. It's very sad.
Maybe you got to retitle it.
Maybe
to decolonize your list group or something like that.
Yeah. So we got Black Narcissus, which I think fits well from what we've watched before. Battle of Algiers. I would also have to throw on there. Where's another future creep? Walker, the Alex Cox movie. That movie definitely fits the bill. But a movie like Silence, Zulu, Chateau's Land, Alzana's Raid, The Man Who Would Be King, Zulu, Lawrence of Arabia, Dark of the Sun, Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Fitzcarraldo, all very good picks. Even all the way back to like Viking times, Valhalla Rising.
Damn,
it goes all the way back. Don't leave your home. Don't go looking for resources or more land. Just stay put. Don't do anything ever.
Tell that to the Ferengi. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying, buddy?
Gold laced platinum.
So anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so like movie making itself, like I thought that trope was kind of funny, and then all the scenes with the actual people and stuff, like it's really well done. But one little thing that I don't know if is a big deal to anyone else, but they talk about like, so the ending when they blow up the building where the dude actually died, the director was like, well, we rebuilt the building and then we blew it up again. And he was like, people didn't really want to do it because it was expensive, but I paid for it myself. He was like, I'm a very good guy. I paid for the reconstruction. And then we blew it up. And he's like, because I thought it was important that we do the actual thing of where he was. And I was like, I think that's good an idea, but I think there's also something to be said of like historical preservation in a sense, where it's like if this was like an actual historical landmark, it's like, does it make sense to build it and then blow it up again?
Well, I mean, you should have heard some of the crazy ideas Oliver Stone had for his World Trade Center movie.
Oh my god, I can only imagine what Oliver Stone wanted to do for that shit.
Oh, can you imagine? But the Cuba, it's like, okay, I mean, it's a matter of scale. But can you imagine if some fucking dipshit director, like I don't even want to name anybody, but like they came along, and were like, hey, if I want to do this right, we have to recreate it. Like,
exactly.
No one's going to get hurt. It's just it's movie magic. You're like, well, isn't there other ways to do this? And these we gotta have it's about the impact.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like he's all about like the authenticity. He's like in the real place. It's like, but that's why movies kind of exist. Is that you don't. It's like it's good to film things in real locations, but it's like you don't have to like recreate it exactly because that's kind of nuts.
I mean, and even now, right? Like you have this film where it's like, oh, so here's an Italian director, another like colonial country, depicting the events. But it's like, I mean, politically, it's like, okay, he's on the same page to a degree, and he's like, I want to tell your story about Algeria, a place that I don't. And there, I mean, now the kids would call that problematic.
Appropriation, I think, is one word there.
Amongst other things.
Amongst others.
Yeah.
So
he's when he's showing up, he's like, we gotta do it this way, and people go, oh, we're not comfortable with that. He says, tough. Werner Herzog's boiling rats over there and die. I mean, I can blow up a goddamn building, can't I?
Yeah, and that was my whole takeaway from that. I was like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't think that's necessary, my man. And like, so some of those explosion scenes, like there's one where there's people around. I think people actually got hurt in that scene, like because they were setting off 5 explosives right beside people.
Italian film production.
They don't give a fuck, hey?
Chopping up turtles. They don't care.
blowing up like animals, raping women left and right. Like they're just like whatever.
Well, that's simulated.
Viva la cinema. That's what they say, right?
So, RJ, fun fact, in 2003,
Uh-huh.
there was a Pentagon screening of this film. The press reported that the United States Department of Defense, the Pentagon, offered a screening of the movie on August 27th. The Directorate for Special Operations and Low-Intensity Conflict regarded as useful for commanders and troops facing similar issues in occupied Iraq. A flyer for the screening said, "How to win a battle against terrorism and lose the war of ideas. Children shoot soldiers at point-blank range. Women plant bombs in cafes. Soon the entire Arab population builds to a mad fervor." Sound familiar? The French have a plan. It succeeds tactically, but fails strategically. To understand why, come to a rare showing of this film. According to the Defense Department official in charge of the screening, quote, "Showing the film offers historical insight into the conduct of French operations in Algeria and was intended to prompt informative discussion of the challenges faced by the French," unquote.
So is that good? That they were using this?
It's like, it's so bizarre. You're like, isn't there other ways, like other than movies, that are in themselves second, third hand depictions of reality, but we're going to use that as like something as like a point of inspiration when you're the fucking Pentagon? It's like, don't you have reports or like first hand accounts that you could go off of? They're like, watch the movie, we'll see how it's staged. But it's all part of this, like, I don't know, the way people think that there weren't fucking movies. And this is like, this extends to a whole lot of other things. I think that a lot of problems that we have with police these days is, I think they think they're in movies, and they think that like their lives are cinematic, and that's how they've like narrativized their world in this way. They're like, it's us against them, because that's the thing that they're fed all the time. It doesn't matter how much you train them. They're spending more time watching movies about themselves in this, like, but it's like a screenwriter's version of themselves. It's a director's version with actors, and they're like, yeah, that's what it's like. And you're like, holy shit. Leave it to like the military during the Bush administration in 2003, which they would have, of course, had to watch like a bootleg or like VHS tape of, because the Criterion DVD wasn't out yet, unless the Criterion snuck them a copy. I don't know, maybe they did.
I imagine they used uTorrent or something like that.
Napster.
Yeah, maybe Napster.
LimeWire.
I think you raise an interesting point about that, actually, and I think I don't know if Battle of Algiers episode was the right point to bring it up, but maybe cinema and entertainment is the problem. You know, because like
shut it down.
In the last couple of months, I think everyone was, all that stuff that happened with Ellen DeGeneres and celebrities like chiming in on people who are in distress, and everyone was like, "Do we need celebrities? And maybe do we need movies? Do we?" Because I feel like rom-coms also set an unhealthy precedent, an unrealistic standard of expectations for people in relationships.
Are you saying that like She's All That gave birth to incels?
It's very possible. And by the way, do you know who wrote She's All That?
I don't offhand.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I just so you know, he wrote that, She's All That, and then he also wrote Stuart Little.
Yes,
Little known fact.
That's a pretty well-known fact, I think.
Stuart Little?
Yeah.
But what about She's All That?
I did not know that. I pulled that movie out of my ass. Much like M. Night Shyamalan. See?
Hey, remember when we talked about the Battle of Algiers? That was cool.
Well, now we're talking about She's All That.
All That?
Which I'm pretty sure was the intent by the director.
Yeah. This dude's Italian. He wants some kind of sexual intensity in his upcoming movies, correct?
Oh, this is interesting too. So, again, the flow of fun facts of Wikipedia. Not all reception was positive. Well, we'll get to that part. In France, Cahiers du Cinéma devoted a special feature to the film consisting of 5 articles by critics, philosophers, and film scholars. Their collective negative assessment of the film was cast in such strong terms that, quote, "It undermined on moral grounds the legitimacy of any critic or analyst who did not condemn the film, let alone anyone who dared consider it worthy of filmic attention."
Anyone who considered it? So it's like
Yeah.
if you liked this movie,
There's
you were
some-
on the shit list?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's
Okay.
I mean, that's interesting. I'd like to know more about that, but this little link here doesn't go too deep.
Well, they just lost our advert.
The
For them.
illegitimate legitimacy of the Battle of Algiers in French film culture. Well, it's kind of curious because you think that that particular publication, founded by a Godard, maybe by '66 though, maybe there was a swing in being like, this is dangerous, and which is baffling. And seeing this, it's kind of like, huh, I want to know more about that. Too bad we don't do a podcast about Carrière du Cinéma.
I mean, when we started this years ago, we
I would have been all
almost
over
did.
that. Oh, I know.
It was in contention, but
But then we had to have learned French. We don't got to take time for that.
not anymore. On Juppie, on me, Paris. That's all I know.
So the wavering, high pitched vocal sound resembling a howl with a trilling quality, RJ. Ululation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like your ovulation? Oh, is that using your uvula, Jarrett?
No.
Whoa. The Gorky guys are going to be after you on that one. I can tell you that much.
Or they love it.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
The Gorky people, please.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Hey, you know what was fun? When that old drunk guy got beaten to death by a gang of children.
Yeah, well, he had it coming. Hey, remember
He was drunk?
remember that scene of like the people at the cafes is getting blown to shit, and like, man,
remember
that's
one.
pretty hardcore. Like the one goes up and then they go, oh, well, I guess the gas main went. Let's go back to dancing, and then they fucking blow up, and you see someone go flying a little bit in the background, I think, and I go, shit, and then another one, and you're like, god damn, too far. And then we get down to some hardcore torture.
Torture? Yeah, that's pretty grisly stuff. There's a lot of glycerine or glycerol teardrops in this movie, but then there's one that looks real. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty sad what's going on here. Which do you identify most with? The dude who gets pretzeled and pulled up into the rafters? The ear guy, the blowtorch nipple, the drowning guy?
I think here on the Criterion Creeps podcast, we're all about nipple torture.
Well, that can be your guy.
No, it's ours.
I actually thought the ear electrode guy was similar to podcasting.
Hey, RJ, what are you talking about? This M. Night Shyamalan writing movies that he didn't write.
M. Night Shyamalan wrote She's All That.
No, he didn't.
Must I do everything?
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay,
It's written by one R. Lee Fleming Jr. and M. Night doesn't even have an uncredited thing on IMDb.
M. Night Shyamalan wrote She's All That. I'm gonna. I'm on top of this. This is a fact.
No, there's literally a thing on top here. It's like on M. Night Shyamalan and She's All That. Did he really write it? Question mark. It's no secret that M. Night Shyamalan had a hand in the making of She's All That.
And how far does that go? Where does
he allegedly he polished up the movie script?
I consider that a writing credit if I ever saw one.
So M. Night Shyamalan claims I ghost wrote the movie.
So he's the one spreading that rumor.
Yeah. And
Here's
then, well, the
IndieWire.
screenwriter R. Lee Fleming Jr. has claimed that Shyamalan was lying.
Man, this is getting deeper. Listen to this IndieWire report from 2013. So M. Night Shyamalan probably didn't ghostwrite She's All That after all. Oh fuck, there's a lot of writing here. I can't read.
Well, anyway, so this is the podcast you come for if you want nipple torture. Okay.
Needless to say,
And
it
that
seems like
something else I was talking about earlier that happens to breasts.
there was something
The
else.
house that Jack built.
Yeah, there was something else. But all I gotta say is that it seems like M. Night Shyamalan is taking credit for things that he maybe didn't have a hand in, and he got me. I got
You got
by the Shyamalan.
You weren't the first, and you won't be the last of his victims.
Unbelievable. Hey, torture's crazy, hey?
Yeah, torture's not good. That's usually what happens in these scenarios, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I believe I've heard it put as, you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. That
That's one way
omelet
to put
being something? Peace? Order? The order omelet? And you have to crack order people? People are order? So you have to, like, crack some people? Apparently, if you need to make an omelet of order, it assumes that it already exists.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
I've heard people say this, like, literally, like, as a thing that they would say that proves that torture works. And it's like, what?
well, a lot of people think waterboarding's appropriate, right?
They sure do, RJ.
You know,
you ever watch that footage of Christopher Hitchens when he talked about how waterboarding's not that big a deal, and then he went and did it, and then he completely changed his mind because he went, yeah, no, it's awful. And I learned something, and yeah.
I've not that one, but I've seen other people, and from what I hear, about 10-20 seconds is about unbearable.
Yep.
So
and if you've got anything to say, you will say it. That's how torture sadly works.
Yep. So, podcasts. Right? Same, or...
So where are you at on this movie?
I mean, I think it's good. I think documenting historical events is important. I think it's a good story in the sense of what it's... I don't know. I think the people of Algeria probably like it quite a bit.
Wow.
French kind of seem like
I
assholes.
wonder, well, it all depends on, I guess, who's in power now in Algeria. I don't know.
True.
I don't know what they're seen as. Maybe this movie's not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not popular.
But that could be. But I mean, I think in a historical standpoint, it was cool. I like some elements of the movie, but there's some stuff I was kind of like, it's kind of sloppy. And I know that's what he meant for, but it's like, just because you take a shit on the floor and you mean to do it doesn't mean it should be a shit on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
And celebrated.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be celebrated. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle for Battle of Algiers.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You want to hear about who hates this movie?
Sure.
I've got several
to
go along with, because man, these folks. First up, let me just make this a little bigger.
Are they all French?
No, not that I know of. Actually,
okay.
One of these is a returning individual too. So first we have Kype.
Sure, we do.
Half a star. The oppressor-oppressed narrative based on natural-born identity is highly anti-human.
Anti-human?
Yeah.
I think their ratings are anti-human. 5 stars to 3 billboards. 5 stars to Portrait of a Lady on Fire. 5 stars to The House That Jack Built. Just because it's just that easy, Jarrett. They don't rate too often, to be honest, but half-star films include Battle of Algiers, Parasite, Old Boy, and Spirited Away. So I don't really know what that's about.
Dr. Christmas.
Oh, in the return.
Half a star. Garbage.
It's big if true. I mean, we've talked about Dr. Christmas a few times, but let's see their updated favorite films. We have Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust, so the sequel, not even the main one. That's weird. A Bittersweet Life from 2005, Leon, The Professional, and 5 centimeters per second. Don't know what that is.
Anime.
Anime, baby.
Max Park, 1 star. Watched this sleep deprived at the back of my class with a bunch of heads blocking the subtitles. This forced me to pay attention to the shitty editing, sound mixing, and all around mediocrity. Maybe one day I'll watch it with better circumstances and enjoy it more. Bleg.
Seems like they're judging the experience more than the movie itself.
I mean, that's like one way to watch movies. That's legitimate.
Yeah.
We've all done that at some point.
Yep. Do you think Velocipaster is 5 stars, Jarrett?
What?
There's a movie that came out last year. It's about a Christian pastor who is also a velociraptor.
Oh, I see. Is that a 5-star movie? No, it's not, probably.
What about Back to the Future?
Hmm.
Maybe, actually. It's all the same. It's Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Goonies.
Yep.
You know, what are you gonna expect?
Peyton Denault, 1.5 star. Watched for class. Not my type of movie, especially since it was war-based and somewhat like a documentary. Also watched on 2 times speed because I have too much work to do, which might have attributed to me not liking it, but it just didn't strike anything in me.
I mean, that's not totally fair. And I'm saying that as the person who 1.5 La Ventura, but I'm a professional. I can handle that. It seems like this person's still in the class stage. So
yeah, I like to throw out those people who are still in class.
Yeah, I'm just in class. Peyton gave The Beach Bum a 0.5 star. They gave A Ghost Story 1 star. And their favorite films include La La Land and Call Me By Your Name. Of course.
The letterbox generation.
Yep.
One more. 1.5 star from ZS10.
Okay.
Ugh, old war movies are annoying. WC at Jared's and Mark.
ZS10 is peculiar. They've only ever logged 69 films, and then they stopped a couple months ago. There's only one 5-star film. It's Scary Movie 3. And there's a lot of like Indian films, but I don't know what Gobi Ghat is or Abuna.
Okay.
I don't know what that stuff means. Never seen it.
But I guess old war movies are annoying.
I guess allegedly, right? Like.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you? Do you like this show?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Nice.
After the break, busting out those blowtorches.
Damn.
Some ear hooks.
Uh-huh.
We're going to get the truth out of you finally, motherfucker.
Okay. I'll tell the truth. M. Night Shyamalan wrote She's All That.